You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome, listeners, to another episode of All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on BQN and the Fandom Podcast Network. I'm your host, Kelvin, and with me today it's Christos, and drum roll, please, Amy Nelson is back. Patreon patrons, remember you can now watch All Good Things as an extended video edit of this very episode at patreon.com/BQN. Amy Nelson, how the devil have you been?
Well, my goodness, it has been so long. So thank you for welcoming me back. It has been so wonderful. Where I've been for the last month, we had a little birthday celebration. It was the end of the school year. I went up to Washington, visited family and wine country up at Yakima River Valley. Oh my gosh, amazing wine up there. And then I spent a week down in Belize, which is unbelievable, as what they say. Got to see rainforests and jungle and beach and savanna. Like, Belize has it all. So that's sort of a little synopsis of where I've been.
Well, I'm worn out just listening to that. Wow, you've been busy. Christos, how's your week been?
With Amy, it's just kind of like when they decide to thaw Mariah Carey out for Christmas. It's like Amy goes on break and she's just gone. Boo. We'll see you in 4 or 5 weeks for an episode, maybe.
Yes, summer only comes around once a year.
That's true. I had a good week. It was kind of busy with work and whatnot, kind of gearing up toward the holiday here. So just trying to get a lot of things done. But probably that's like I said, it's kind of nice, uneventful in many ways, which is not always a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Kelvin?
We've had a very uncharacteristically UK heat wave. And I don't know if you've seen the weather patterns for Europe. They've had like record-breaking 40-plus degree centigrade temperatures. So we've been at nearly 40 degrees. And we're just not built for it in this country. Nowhere has air conditioning. Yeah. Apart from the gym. So I've spent a lot more time at the gym than usual, mainly in preparation for Sitges next week. But yeah, we love to complain about the weather in the UK. We're such stereotypes of ourselves. But it's true. You people work from home and you'll see people like with like desk fans and everything, rather than just go into the office that chances are has air conditioning. But it's been very uncomfortable sleeping. I've not had a good night's sleep all week, and it's just broken today, day of recording. So I'm really looking forward to an early night tonight, and yeah, just chilling out, pun intended.
Yeah, I was watching some footage of Harry Styles performing, and I was like, good on him, because you can tell it's hot, and he's still just jumping around and doing this thing. But I can't imagine having to do that in that kind of heat.
Yeah, it's. I mean, look, if we had rubbish weather, we'd be complaining about that. And now we've got the sun. It's like, oh, it's too hot. It's too hot. I was thinking of you yesterday, Christos. I saw a news story about the Hallmark convention exclusive ornaments that they usually release around the time of San Diego Comic-Con. But interestingly, they're calling it convention exclusive, but they're not actually selling them at the convention. They're just selling them online through Hallmark.com, but calling it convention exclusive. So I don't know. What do you think of that? Sounds like a bit of a cop-out.
I mean, it is, but it also means I don't have to like pull all my friend triggers to get a copy, to get one, you know.
Come to Vegas with your shopping bags.
I know. I guess if it's just honoring that it's Comic-Con week and it's making it more available to the masses, it's not a bad thing. If you're that like niche collector that wants to be like, well, I got that at Comic-Con and it's a lot more rare, then you're probably not going to be happy with it. But like, what did we get last year? The Titan or the Picard? What was that last year?
It
was the Enterprise G.
The Titan or the Enterprise G. One was the normal one was the convention exclusive. I don't remember.
But
I
also
would
think
like.
I'd say those are a little bit of a cop out because you're just taking the same ornament and putting a different name on it. Amy, you're good. What do you say?
Right. Well, with the what they did with the Lego, like if you get it during this convention week time period, then maybe you get, an extra certificate or you get 10% off. Like, why is this a convention exclusive? What makes it exclusive? That's my question. So you don't get to call it that and then have this hype about it. No. This is a convention release. It's not an exclusive.
The exclusivity is the reduced number that's available. So they'll say we release 5,000 instead of, unlimited 25,000, whatever. But you're right, Christos. It means that you don't have to go to the convention to get it. It's available to anyone online. So that will make them quite difficult to get because they'll probably sell out really quickly. The actual model itself is the original series shuttlecraft. So the main release is the shuttlecraft Galileo, but the convention version is the shuttlecraft Einstein from Doomsday Machine.
The Galileo was the original first Hallmark Star Trek ornament.
Yeah. So the marking 60 years of Star Trek by let's re-release the first ever one that we did.
Oh, that's nice.
It's nice. Lovely. Well, shall we get to today's topic? And Amy, would you like to introduce today's episode and give us a little synopsis, please?
Absolutely. So we are going back to our genetic engineering series. This is part 8. Star Trek likes to discuss genetic engineering. And this time we're going Next Generation, Season 2, Unnatural Selection, where the crew fights against a mysterious disease which accelerates the natural aging process, causing those infected to die of old age within a matter of days. Can the crew save Dr. Pulaski before it's too late? Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. So
the crew fights. And I'm like, really? I mean, I guess there's like 2 or 3 of them working.
Well, they run around looking for a hairbrush.
Yeah.
They do come up with that whole transporter business, so there's that, I guess.
So this episode gets an awful lot of criticism online because of the failure to mention the eugenics wars and the ban on genetic engineering, when clearly it was just that Star Trek hadn't wrote about it yet. They hadn't decided that there were a ban. In fact, it was 10 years later in Dr. Bashir, I presume, on Deep Space Nine, where they said there's a ban on genetic engineering in the Federation. So why do we think this episode gets that reaction when there's so many other things in Star Trek that have kind of retconned itself?
I have a very easy answer. People love to dump on season 2 of TNG, and it's really easy to take a baseball bat to it and point out a lot of the things that were not so great about it, including that even though, to your point, they weren't committing any canon violation when they made the episode. Actually, Dr. Bashir, I presume, was the canon violation. So there's that. So that's my simple answer.
So when this episode came out, obviously we had Space Siege. So there was obviously this trend of genetic engineering. So I don't think it really is breaking canon. I guess my question is, like, we'd had Space Siege. By season 2, we'd had Wrath of Khan, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So for the Federation to have this entire planet dedicated to genetic engineering does seem a bit odd, but I wouldn't say it's breaking canon per se. What do we think about that?
It doesn't in the episode, but it does later on in this DS9 episode kind of contradicts what they establish in this episode. So like I said, breaking canon comes from the DS9 episode, not Unnatural Selection, because you're supposed to just like wave. If you're trying to retcon it in your head, you're just kind of, well, that didn't happen.
Yeah, but you would think that they would have been so more careful about genetic engineering and not this one lady and this entire lab that's like, oh, we're doing this and we're doing this. Like, hold on. We've seen that that's not always a good thing. And even with Picard was like, well, who says they are better human beings? Like who is deciding that? And that's where the question comes into. So it just, that juxtaposition between, oh, we're doing this and we're doing this so flippantly, when you have Space Seed, you have Wrath of Khan already in our canon.
Yeah, I call those lines like Picard's like throwaway lines that some writer throws in there to try to be a moral thing. But like, obviously this has been vetted by the Federation and probably Starfleet Medical, and it was okayed and greenlit if you think about it. So Picard to have a moral question about it is kind of there for the audience and maybe to make that character look well. But like, you know, look, but it you know, it's a done deal. It was happening.
It's a bit of a fixed point as well in Star Trek continuity that is established in Dr. Bashir, I presume, because then the episodes that are developed after that point but take place before, such as Strange New Worlds, establish that there's the ban. We have Enterprise with all the augments. We have Ad Astra Per Aspera. They all talk about this ban about the genetic engineering in Starfleet. So you've got it before this episode in the timeline and after in the timeline, but in production, it's early. So that's the whole, I guess.
And even the Strange New Worlds episodes, just a quick reminder, predate Space Seed and whatnot. So it's not like there's it's literally a throwback to the eugenic wars.
Yeah. How do you think we could have fixed it? Is there, if you know, we're going to be talking a lot about zhuzhing this episode, certainly with a replacement of a character a little bit later. But if they wanted to sidestep this issue, is there anything in the story they could have added to tell the same story but get away from this argument of the eugenics ban?
A non-Federation station.
Oh,
brilliant.
Like they could have just been like, you know, it's a station out there. It could have been something they're visiting or as they were exploring, and it could have just not been part of the Federation. It just could have just been independent.
Brilliant fix, Christos. Oh my gosh.
I'm here all day.
Iris would have affected the Starfleet ship, and they'd still the same investigation and still a desire to put things right.
Yeah.
And Picard's moral question actually has a little bit more weight now.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I had a fix. It's not as brilliant as that one. I really like that one. But I was thinking that station be a like mad scientist and the people that believe in genetic engineering. And so they go rogue and then they get found out because they died. And then what happens to them, that's their due desserts.
Yeah.
So it's a deliberate breaking of the law, drawn to do it, a bit like Soong almost in Enterprise.
Or a little Section 31. I mean, it could be like a Section 31 type station.
Oh my God, a Section 31 TNG episode?
Yes!
See, we're just fixing all the problems. That's actually a little bit, you know, ties it back.
We just wrote about 3 Star Trek novels, though. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Going back to my kind of nitpicking of this rule break, it does irk me a little bit. But there's so much genetic engineering in all of Star Trek. Like I said, this episode gets a bad reputation for breaking the rules. But I was just off the very top of my head the other day having to think of other episodes where casual genetic engineering is used on humans in Starfleet, and there's no, we can't do that because of the ban. So the very first episode of Strange New Worlds, they established that Chapel is an expert in genetic medicine, and when they turn them into the species they go down to save Una, They said it's not cosmetic; it's a genetic change, and they inject them.
Right.
Isn't that breaking the rules?
Maybe it's because it's supposed to be temporary. I don't know if
Right.
Yeah. 4.5 Vulcans. They transform them into Vulcans. They're literally using genetic engineering to change species.
And that was the same thing. The engineering, genetic engineering change, and that was temporary. Yeah, so that's how Strange New World is getting around that.
That episode's wrong for many reasons, as well as the rules there. But so let's move on from that one. Christos, what about Beverly and her T cells in Genesis? She changed someone's genome and accidentally activated the dormant introns. It's genetic engineering.
I mean, oops.
We all know what happened next. We have the Doctor on Voyager when B'Elanna first gets pregnant in the final season of Voyager, when they should really know better. They genetically engineer Miral in utero to fix curvature of the spine. Genetic engineering. So Icheb does genetic modifications on himself so he can donate his cortical node to 7 when hers breaks down. Genetic engineering. I think the
board get a pass, maybe.
He didn't know the rules.
They're just trying to, those guys have been through enough. They're just trying to get back to normal.
Yeah. So what do you think? Is it just let's forget it when it's convenient? How does it sit with you and your headcanon, and how free and easy are you with the rules of the franchise? Amy, do you care, or is it as long as it's a good story, let's go with it?
I mean, you can see this in real life as well, where there's a line. However, you're dealing with a population, so it does need to be case by case. And it's tricky. It's tricky because with this type of change, you're not going to know the long-term effects on society. Like, if we are removing some trait, what is that going to do to society overall? Because we do have a collective, responsibility. There's going to be exceptions. I accept that. So I like these little exceptions because it sort of just mirrors life, and that, I don't know. What do you think, Christos?
I mean, I think we're at 960 plus episodes at this point, and another 26 in the can to be added to that. Things are going to happen. I mean, I would think it'd be maybe in today's world, if writers can use Chat GPT to even help them. Hey, have we done this before? Like maybe there's a little bit more now that like you can, but I think it's just like the reason Enterprise was created and going back to the beginning was they needed to undo some of the technology that they'd already been using, because it's hard to write stories when you have all these technologies that can solve problems. I mean, how many times have we sat there and watched an episode and said, well, had they just done this, it would have been fine, and you're just like, we totally debunked the whole episode because there's just too much technology in Star Trek. And that's how one of the reasons they went back to a prequel with Enterprise. So I would just chalk it up to, hey, sometimes canon becomes so limiting that it's stopping storytelling. And so sometimes there's a wink, wink, nod, nod. And we're going to try and throw in a casual line that makes it okay. And sometimes we won't. But, for the most part, I think if they kind of stick to it, I know we're going to have an outlier every once in a while. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
What do you think, Kelvin?
I don't know. I'm very funny with rules and continuity, and it's the biggest thing that takes me out of the story. Was that casual little piece of Brit bashing there, Christos? Thank you very much. I've got all that to come next month when I come to America. Okay. So, it just takes me out of the story.
Yeah.
And I appreciate not everybody's memory kind of, brings up these really, in my view, quite minor details from the back and beyond, and it ruins an episode like it does for me. But the people who are being paid to produce, write, edit, they should know better. So if it gets through, I see it as a failing in production, and that's what gets me. Not necessarily that, it's going to spoil it for all the viewers, because I think most of the viewers, it won't. They'll just appreciate the story. Yeah. The other aspect of this genetic engineering center in this episode that I found interesting, because it brought up a lot of story points, was this concept of them experimenting on children, which is an area of ethics all in its own. Why, are these children being abused? Have they consented to all this? They've been bred for it. Where's the consent in all of this? Are they all just like test tube babies? But the crew just seemed to obsess as soon as the children, and all logic and rules and guidance went out of the window. They were playing fast and loose with risk, because they were just like, the children, they've got to be fine. And I just didn't buy it. Why was Pulaski so obsessed with these children? It's never even been revealed if she's had children, if she's a mother. She was like, I'm sure I won't be affected. It's fine. They're children. It doesn't seem very scientific. No.
Well, I think it's that line that they were bred to resist disease, which is it. I think even I know that, like, things mutate and they find a way. So it's kind of like, you can say these are perfect specimen, but yeah, I mean, this is probably where the episode tends to break down a little bit more so than other than canon break, obviously, is that, this would be so much more. I mean, at this point, Starfleet would be, we're back to breeding super soldiers, right? We have this way to do this, and we know these kids are 12 years old, and look how developed they are and smart they are, and telepathic and telekinetic. There's so much that could be done with that, and just like it's just out here unguarded, where any old species, any old Romulan could just show up and interfere with it, take hostages, steal research, whatever. It's just. This is the part I think that's just a little bit like way too lax on the.
It was just so glossed over. Right? What were they doing? We know they were experimenting on children, and these were the effects. But why were they doing this? What were they trying to raise another army?
I mean, this is literally like we're raising a superior human race. This is going to be the future of humans. I'm like, that was literally what the eugenics wars were all about. So this is where. Like, even in 1989, I think this episode is like, oh, come on, guys, try a little harder. But remember, season 2 was a shit show. They were right. They were rushed. Let's go like outside universe. There was the writer's strike. They were rushing scripts. They had so much turmoil with, behind the scenes with the production crew, the writers, with it, Roddenberry's lawyer, the who's the famous guy that fired Beverly?
Maurice
Hurley. If you just go watch Chaos on the Bridge, and that would explain how this episode got produced.
But telekinetic and telepathic, they're like not, you're a bit smarter, you're a bit stronger. They're just breeding a load of Jean Greys from X-Men. That's a really, really powerful species.
Good thing Professor X is there.
Yeah, and then at the end of the episode, when they cured them, they just let them carry on. They just left.
Yeah, but did they cure the children? Did they, or were they going to have to be like? I guess they never really says, right?
The children have to live out the rest of their life on the planet in solitude, because no one can visit them because they'll die of old age. That is horrendous. That is the ending of the episode.
Well,
horrendous.
And what's going to happen as they take over the planet and procreate themselves, and maybe want to leave at some point,
right?
And, just, I mean, that talk about a storyline that could be revisited.
Second Contact.
Right?
Yeah, like second. Well, or they're it's 100 years later and they're off the planet and they're pissed, or not 100 years. It's let's just jump up to, let's just say where Legacy would be in time, like 30 years later, 40 years later, and you could have these kids as adults and they have kids and they're pissed off for being quarantined and marooned.
Stranded. I mean, this is
It's
spacey.
con all over again. Yeah, exactly.
Well, actually, it reminds me a little of Charlie X. You've got these kids, and imagine if these kids can control the effects of this virus, so they can kind of hold it in a little bit, and then if they're mad, almost like sell it on you, and then suddenly you go really old. These could be some pretty angry kids. But funnily enough, I don't know if it was. It certainly wasn't anywhere in the trivia for this episode, but it was a bit of a deep cut Easter egg in Lower Decks, that these children were seen again in the season 4, episode 2, the Moopsie episode. They were the humans who were in the zoo on the menagerie on the station. So they were the ones who released Moopsie, who went around killing everyone and drinking their bones.
Then I have to go do a little rewatch.
Yeah. So, but it even didn't say it in Lower Decks explicitly. It was the uniforms that the children were wearing were the same colourful ones that they wore in the Darwin station. So it was a very deep cut.
Very deep cut. I like it though.
But the fact they released Moopsie was kind of like these children are a little bit pissed off about the way they've been treated back in the day. So I like that. I like that for a little evil. Okay. We've not talked about it yet. I think it's time for us to talk Pulaski. What do you think, Christos? Should we give her a good airing? Yeah,
actually. So like I've said this before, I don't dislike Pulaski. I love to like go down that trope of, it's not Beverly. And it's not Beverly. And I do prefer Beverly. But I don't dislike Pulaski's character. I mean, you could argue she's kind of a dick toward Data. And that's a problem. But I love the way she fights with Captain Picard, and it's not sexual. It's not sexual tension. It's just that woman. I love that. I like
professional for Picard to say that. In what workplace would you get away with saying that woman?
Because I just like that she's got him so like frazzled. He's like our normally composed captain is there, but and I will say, probably one of the reasons this character never hit, aside from not being Beverly, and Beverly was a popular character, was I think she's a little bit like a female Bones, right? It's just too close to Bones, right down to not wanting to take transporters and talking about old school medicine. And it's just Leonard McCoy as a female. And I think that's probably the bigger reason why they didn't succeed with their doctor change and had to go back. So there's my Pulaski 2 cents for you. Amy, what do you think?
Amy? Is it a while since you've watched a Pulaski episode?
Yeah, it was very, I'm like, okay, this is not Beverly. But I really enjoyed how, Deanna, I'm going to throw it in now, how like their history between Troy and Pulaski, because season 2 opener was the child. And that's when Deanna had her child and had to work with Pulaski. So when Picard's going to her, Troy, and like, oh my gosh, what do I do with this person? And she's like, well, in my history, how I dealt with her more. And that's such a beautiful reference to the child, but also showing a path of it's possible, Picard, just start working with her more so that you can,
build a relationship,
figure out her style and who she is. And you both are stubborn and you both are, know your profession and you both know how to stay in your lane. She's staying in her lane. So Picard, let's, so I really enjoyed that aspect of Pulaski that brings that out in the crew.
Before we go further, what do you think of Pulaski, Kelvin?
I don't like her. I I don't think it is. I think it's slightly more than the she's not Beverly aspect. I just find her a little too rough around the edges. I don't think that she fits in with the rest of the crew. And even taking outside of this episode, there's a relationship with Troy, there's a relationship with Worf. She even, she has a relationship with Wesley as well, but it seems a bit forced. Like, Amy, I know you've just mentioned about how she gets on with Troy because of the child and it was thrown together, but just some of the conversations in like the walk and talks in the corridor, they were just very, very pally. And I don't believe Deanna makes friends that quickly. And to me, it just seemed like these scenes were written for Beverly and it's not Beverly, but they couldn't be bothered making the relationship different.
It could, well, it's pretty early in season 2, so it is quite possible this script was meant for Crusher. I think another thing to point out about Pulaski is that she doesn't have a lot of respect for the chain of command or Starfleet code. She just kind of wants to do what she wants to do and gets pissy when, protocol gets in the way. She's very, I'm a doctor first, I'm an officer second, or something along that line. Kind of also like, I think they make Pulaski a commander like Beverly was, and that doesn't quite add up either, because she doesn't show any interest in Starfleet, really, in my opinion, whatsoever.
I felt through this episode that obviously medicine is a branch of science, but scientific research and medicine are very different things. And I felt that Kate Pulaski came across as more of a scientist rather than a healer in this episode. She seemed very interested in the research and the children and wanting to fight. It didn't just feel like, here's a disease and I want to find a cure, or I want to take care of the welfare of these people. There was this reverence of her study papers that she's authored and things. And it made me feel, this is someone who's a scientist who's ventured into medicine. And she gives me a little like Toby Russell vibes from...
I was going to say that. We always said that, what if that wasn't Toby Russell, and what if that was Pulaski coming back?
That would have been brilliant.
That would have been a great way to have them kind of... But that would have also played into that rivalry that the fans have created there.
Yeah, I think I think Beverly only mentions Pulaski once, doesn't she? And it's where she talks about the memory.
Who watches the Watchers?
Yeah, and the look she gives Picard.
I'm familiar with Dr. Pulaski's methods. What's the whole business there with her having studied Picard and wanting to be on his ship so bad, and and she requested the Enterprise as soon as she found out there was a CMO opening, but she just doesn't seem to like the captain and fights with him all the time and gets mad that he doesn't go her way.
I didn't like this aspect. I think it was interesting for the Picard Pulaski relationship. I always thought this episode was much later in season 2. I was very surprised when I saw it was episode 7, because I thought we'd gone pretty much a full season not liking her and not understanding her, and then Picard warms to her at the end, but it's actually quite early.
Yeah.
So this aspect of the trauma, the danger, the peril that she goes through, and we may lose her, to then you've got the revelation that she really looks up to Picard, and then at the end when she's saved, it's actually we all love her now, and he even hugs her at the end of the transporter. So I was quite like the neatness of that for this story, but I still don't get it for the full arc of the character throughout all of season 2. So it doesn't explain why she is the way she is towards Picard if she was supposedly fangirling so much.
Right.
Yeah, I was just thinking it was like, oh, here's another reason why the Enterprise D is the ship that everyone wants to be on. It just, to me, was, oh, let's just throw it in. Everyone wants to be on the Enterprise D. Like, I didn't even really think of it that anything more than that.
But her, it wasn't more, I want to be on the D. I want to serve with Jean-Luc Picard. That's the opportunity. And that's what she's leaning into more. I could totally buy the whole, the Enterprise D is one of the most advanced ships in the fleet, and the medical facilities are top notch. And can't wait to have access to all those laboratories and everything. That makes a little more of I buy into that a little bit better.
Yeah, well, I picture it like if I'm like teacher, and it's like, oh, here's the best school, and oh my gosh, the principal is now the best principal of the district. I want to get there. So where's this principal been? And so I'm going to be like studying. It's like, okay, so who do I know? I want to position at this school. So it's that same thing of doing your research to make sure that you fit in, and then you get this through that research, this idea of how magnificent. And then you actually get there and you're like, what the heck? I thought I would fit in with this number one school and number one principal. And now there's tension. So
maybe she knows Picard by reputation. It's not really any previous, it's no previous interaction. They've never met, but maybe on paper, he seemed like her kind of person. Maybe she was disappointed. Maybe that's why they butted horns. He didn't live up to his own. Because it's season 2. Nothing really groundbreaking has yet happened. He's not the Picard that's fought Borg or been similar.
He's not the cutest.
He's had the battle with the Ferengi, but that's it.
And how many years are there between the Stargate, him serving on the Stargazer, and the Enterprise? Like he had a little time out, as captain.
But when you mentioned about all the technology available on the Enterprise D, and maybe that's why she was drawn there, I was thinking she's famous for going around curing people with chicken soup and a splint. So I don't think she appreciates all the technology.
Yeah, I do like the dynamic between Picard and her when she's arguing with him about the shuttlecraft solution, and he just kind of stops and says approved, because he recognizes that she was trying to meet his conditions and that she was trying to work with him. And I'm like, okay, that's progress. That seems like, okay, that part is well written there. Yeah.
Well, let's give her a juice though. Let's end on that positive. Before we transition into what would Beverly have done? So how do we judge this episode ultimately and throw Beverly Crusher in there instead of Dr. Pulaski? I've had a few thoughts, but Christos, would you like to start us off? WWBD, what would Beverly do?
What would Beverly do? I would have loved this bit of Beverly episode, because, Beverly has a lot to do in season 1, but never really anything about her. Like she's just there supporting a lot of episodes, and sometimes in a very strong manner, but it's never about her in season 1. In fact, it would be season 3 sometime, maybe early season 4, until we got a Beverly-centric episode.
Yeah, so the high ground, I would say, is probably
high ground. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I forgot about that one. You're right. That was her first episode, and that was late season 3.
Yeah.
So to have this be a Beverly episode would have been great. I think off the top, she would have been not as naive, I think, as Kate Pulaski. I think she's like, yeah, sure, just beam me over, take it, the risk to the ship that Pulaski was able to take. I think as a commander, as a bridge officer, I think Beverly would understand that a little bit more, of the duty to the ship and the people on the ship. I think Pulaski's way too flippant about casting that aside and being willing to take that risk. And I think Beverly would not have been that way.
So. What about you, Amy? What would Amy do? What would Amy do? What would Beverly do? What would Amy do?
I think Beverly wouldn't have given up on the adults as quickly as possible, because she's, I think, very aware that we need to find a solution on why these adults are dying. If the children are okay and unaffected, quote unquote, then let them be. Let me focus my attention on what is the cause. Why are they, dying of old age? Like, get to more of that instead of, let's say the children are okay. Everyone has said all tests So you should be focused. I think that's where Beverly would have gone instead of these children that are unaffected and are having no effects.
Yeah. I think there could have been a great story at some point for Beverly to make a protest about, after the solution was made, a protest back to the Federation about why this is wrong. I mean, Beverly would have been both. She would have been the questioning, like more of that Picard. What gives you guys the right to be doing this? I think Beverly would have had more of that element. What you guys are tampering with things you shouldn't be tampering with. Another Beverly element, I would be like, if you look at the solutions that we saw Beverly come up with in The Last Generation in the final episode of Picard for how to deborg all of the children or all the young officers, it was using transporters and whatnot, and using the transporter to restore these children back to or young adults back to themselves. So I don't know where Beverly got that. Maybe as a result of some of the pioneering engineering it's done in this episode. But you could also say this episode is a little bit of a precursor to how the solution we saw in the final episode of Picard.
Yeah. I think Beverly probably would have been a little bit more sassy in her judgment as well. So Pulaski was almost very impressed with what the genetic research had done to these children. Whereas Beverly would pretty like, you've been experimented on children. This is out of order.
Yeah. She would have been that old lady that was running the place. She would have been the Toby.
Yeah, she would have had a piece of her mind. She would have been looking at Wesley. She would have been very, the maternal side and the medical ethics would have really hit home. And she would have been like, you've got these children in confinement in a really strange laboratory condition. You're experimenting on them. This is wrong. I don't agree. Yeah. And she would have been, there would have been an end to the episode to want to shut this place down and solve the virus, but name and shame, hold these people to account. And if it was, Amy, your judge of someone purposely breaking the rules, I think Beverly would have been front and center of bringing them to justice, to kind of, as a moral of the episode of don't experiment on children, you animals.
We'd be having an episode of medical ethics here if this were a Beverly episode, not genetic engineering.
Okay. Did this episode change how you feel about Pulaski with the whole she might die, and then the way Picard warms to her at the end? Do you as a viewer think, oh, I'm really happy she's alive, she's great, actually she's not that bad after all, she's just misunderstood? Does this episode now help you warm to Pulaski more?
I mean, my point earlier was that I don't completely dislike her. I mean, I think, you a lot of what you said, Kelvin, actually I've thought about. I was like, maybe you're right. There is a lot of that too. So like, is she that likable? Like I always said, it's always been fun to make fun of Pulaski. For me, when I first saw the episode, I mean, I was probably 11 years old, right? And I'm like, I already thought she was an old lady, and they turned her into an even older lady, So, I mean, for me,
that was the 80s for you.
Someone who's in their late 40s probably is old when you're 10 or 11 years old. Now it's exactly my age now, pretty much. I'm probably as old as Pulaski in this episode. I look a lot better though. But yeah, it's hard not to like, even if you just watch a Pulaski reel of the best of Pulaski or the best of, she's just kind of mid, and it's very easy to see why they said this isn't working. Aside from anything that was happening behind the scenes, this character isn't working. And I love that in very rare fashion, a franchise said, instead of going for a third Doctor in season 3, let's go back to the first. That's rare. Yeah.
And thank God they did.
Yes, I know.
What about you, Kelvin? Did it change your opinion on Pulaski?
I like the ending of the episode. I like the warmth that is displayed in the saving of a main character, and because that is the peril of the episode. One of the main characters may die. But it doesn't solve the Pulaski problem for me. We still have the bigoted attitude towards Data, the way she rejects technology in a show that we love because of all the futuristic technology. She doesn't do a huge amount to ally herself with Star Trek's intended audience.
Yeah.
She's prickly by design, and it's not necessarily to the other characters, it's to us as fans. We find her a little bit, I don't know, I can't put it into words. I made one of my famous Redbubble t-shirts recently with Pulaski on it, and she's holding a jar of Marmite, and it says love it, hate it, but it's Pulaski. And that's what it is. She is the Marmite character of Star Trek. Some people love her, some people hate her.
I mean, I think the best thing that could sum it up is if you think about it, when she finishes her transport back to younger Pulaski, and she and Picard have that that hug. That hug is so fake. I think Patrick Stewart, it's an awkward hug. I think Patrick Stewart did not like that woman. I mean, I'm not talking about Picard not liking that woman. I think Patrick Stewart did not like that woman. I think he was still holding the grudge over Gates.
Is it in Chaos on the Bridge where the interviewer says to Diana Muldaur, would you have gone back? And she just says, no.
No, that's That's the newer one, the Nacelle Company documentary. That is executive produced by Gates McFadden. Remember that was like a newer interview,
right?
Like my favorite story about this was one of my best friends, Joe, went to STLV before I ever did. And I think he went around 2012, 2013, but Diana Muldaur was there. And he wore an I Love Dr. Pulaski t-shirt. And he famously was talking to Marina Sirtis. And she's like, oh my God, your shirt. And then in true Marina fashion, she just starts spilling the tea. She's like, nobody liked that woman. That the whole cast hated her. Everybody was against her. I was her only friend. I just like, and I didn't quite believe him when he first told me the story, but now that fast forward 15 years later, and we all know Marina so well, like I can totally hear her telling that story.
Yeah. And of course, she would have been the hero of. I was the only one who was nice.
I think she would have been the one. I think she would have been being nice and then talking shit. Be playing both sides.
Well, speaking of talking someone up and trash talking, let's move on to some assimilations and regenerations. Amy, have you got any assimilations, first of all, for the episode?
Yeah, so my assimilation, as I mentioned before, love the Deanna parts, always going to Deanna, the, ship's counselor, to get advice on how to deal with interpersonal and so loved that. She was actually utilized for the job that she's there to do. And I liked seeing this internal conflict between Picard and Pulaski. Like, Roddenberry was still around. This is season 2, TNG. And he's famous for saying, we do not want conflict between our characters. Well, we get it here. Just a little slice of, okay, we have a new coworker. How do we deal with that? So that tiny bit of conflict, I just laugh at Gene Roddenberry and say, yeah, we have to have conflict to have a good story. That's what life is. So I definitely love that internal conflict, especially in season 2 when Roddenberry's still around.
Brilliant. What about you, Christos?
I was just going to say they just needed a team building session or something, right? Go send them on the holodeck to go do something. I will probably say an assimilation would be for me is probably my favorite Pulaski episode. I mean, that might not rank high, but it's not Shades of Grey. Yeah, and it kind of my assimilation. I always think of the movie 9 to 5 when I think of Pulaski because of her special outfit. And it reminds me of when Lily Tomlin goes, we're going to need a special locker for the hat for Jane Fonda, because it's famous that she, if you go look at the promo photos for Pulaski, she's wearing Beverly's uniform. But when they finally went into production, I think the actress didn't like the form fitting. So they went with the special, I don't know what you would call it, smock, scant. And
smock, that's what they call it. It's not quite
and
scant.
I feel like
Yeah.
That's still a cosplay to do for me, is to have a smug.
Yeah.
You can't move to those just yet, Christos. You've got good legs. You know, you've
Yep.
got to stick
Yeah.
with the scans until the legs give up on you.
I know. Speaking
Agreed.
of which, I'm 11 pounds down, trying to get toward my that special uniform I bought last year that I fit in like a glove. I'm like, how many more pounds do I need to lose so I don't embarrass myself at STLV?
You've got several weeks yet. It can be done.
I'm doing good. We're gonna make it.
Make sure you keep up with the squats though while you're doing it. You don't want all your ass to go, otherwise.
Oh, I know. That's the best part of that outfit, right?
Well, I mean, this is a bit inappropriate, really, considering they're meant to be children, but clearly they're not children. But I do remember this episode being a little bit of a gay awakening for me when they had the guy on the bed, and then he was pretty much naked, and then he was quite cute. I remember as a young guy, I was like, oh. But
you were a minor too, so that's totally okay.
Yeah, I was 7 years old. So it wasn't sexual. It was just a little bit of a, the chromosomes were aligning, and it's kind of like, oh, I'll pay attention to this scene. So yeah, I always remember that. What about regenerations? Any regenerations, Christos?
I think the shuttle solution was beyond obvious. I'm like, that's always, I think, it's an underused element of Star Trek in general, because I think it adds to production costs to use shuttles and the special effects and whatnot. But so many times the shuttlecraft is the unspoken answer that they don't take in Star Trek. But yeah, that was very obvious. And kind of just like continued abuse of data. She treats them like property and more like, just orders them around. Pilot me. I'm going to put you at risk of this, whether you like it or not. Maybe I don't even know that it's going to risk you, but I say it won't. So get on here and take me. It's just that continued abuse of data on Pulaski's part that I just, is probably what was her undoing for most fans.
Yeah. Amy?
I did not buy the reason they gave of why Pulaski, her aging process was so much faster than those on the planet. I mean, they're working in an enclosed building, so they are too in a closed space. And so the fact that it's working faster because she's in a confined space, no, that threw me out of it. And I'm like, no, you got to be better. No, not buying it.
Good one.
I agree. It's more like we have 10 minutes left in this episode and we want to make her look old.
Yeah.
Oh, special. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt that. Like the doctor, what's her name? The 35-year-old doctor. She's wearing plastic gloves in the episode to make her hands look older.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's never to be seen in HD, never to be seen on a 25 or 75-inch television, but like you can see the gap between her sleeve and the gloves.
Yes.
And I'm just like, and even the makeup looked really bad in HD 75-inch TV this time around. So that would be just like a whole like technical regeneration of mine. But it was like, really? I guess, things you don't notice on a 19-inch TV that's not HD in 1989 versus now.
I have two regenerations. One was I was very observant and noticed there was a huge amount of talking over each other in this episode. So there was they explicitly referenced it when Picard would say, I would appreciate it if you would let me finish at least one sentence. But the ongoing trope of when Data goes on a rant and then Picard will silence Data, that happened quite a bit in the episode. Despite Chief O'Brien being very, very conversational and technical, never told Chief O'Brien to shut up. So it just kept happening, talking over talking, interrupting. And it was very unlike Star Trek. So that was a regeneration. But my main regeneration is they really did the Wrath of Khan dirty in this episode. This was the very first showing of a Miranda-class starship in TNG. The land tree was basically the Reliant, just with the sensor bar taken off. But they never said a Miranda-class vessel. They kept saying a Type 3 ship. And I was like, it's clearly a Miranda. Why not just say it? Especially since we saw so many of them. And that would have been a lovely little homage to the Wrath of Khan from a couple of years earlier. But then further than that, when they wanted to see into the Lang tree and they got all the special codes so they could see the view screen, that was the prefix codes, what they did in Wrath of Khan to get the Reliant to drop the shields. So two incredibly specific references to Star Trek The Wrath of Khan, but without saying prefix codes or Miranda. And it just seemed like, we're not stupid. We know you've done this before, and it actually is weird that you're not mentioning it.
Right.
Yeah. I think another, to build onto that regeneration, when Pulaski's on the bridge and she's like, for the record, Captain, they died of natural causes. Yeah. And I'm like, no shit. I mean, like, I guess you're like, that's all you got. You know what I mean? I think you could do a better scan than that and give a little bit more of a, you couldn't detect the virus. You couldn't detect anything. You know, I don't know. It just seemed a little basic is probably what my thought was. I'm like, okay, thanks, Captain Obvious.
You're relieved. Okay. Let's get on to some trivia. Amy, would you like to start us off, please?
Well, in an earlier draft of the script, which was deleted, a character named Rena was seen, whose great beauty caused her fellow crew members to suffer a number of comic mishaps and also a romantic subplot with LaForge. In place of Rena, O'Brien was written into the episode to assist LaForge. Interesting.
And in another earlier concept of the story, a strikingly beautiful and fully recovered Dr. Mandel would be seen on the view screen of the Enterprise during the last minutes, thanking the crew for saving the lives of everyone on the station. To save time and money, and without having to get a younger actress, the idea of this scene was discarded, so the audience never gets to see the Doctor in a young and healthy form. There's Dr. Mandel there, but actually the Dr. Kinsley, isn't it? Who's Dr. Mandel?
I don't know.
Kingsley, I thought it was. Anyway.
Yep, you're right. According to the Star Trek The Next Generation companion, the Darwin children were originally to have appeared nude, but the use of transparent furniture nixed that idea.
My goodness, I don't think I could have coped seeing them nude.
Yeah. I'm glad they did. That would serve no purpose.
Yeah.
I'm glad they figured that out.
According to director Paul Lynch, Muldaur had some difficulty remembering her lines in this episode. The producers solved this problem by putting her lines on cue cards.
Oh, we've heard that. Actually, that plays back to what we've heard, that her husband didn't like her doing her line, didn't like her learning when she went home every day. Oh. He wanted her attention, and she had to cook dinner and all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh God, I'm starting to like her now. I feel so.
And another reason why Patrick Stewart would have lost more respect for her, because she didn't know her lines. That would be a big,
especially at that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the genetic engineering of the advanced children apparently ignores the fact that such engineering is banned and outlawed in the Federation. This is stated at least 5 times in different Star Trek series. We've got Enterprise in the Augments, Deep Space Nine, Dr. Bashir, presume, Strange New Worlds, Ghosts of Illyria, Prodigy, Mind Walk, albeit all of them were produced after this episode in the creating continuity issues.
Right. The matte painting of the research station is used again, yet slightly modified for the Arcaria base on Arcaria in Starship Mine, and the Oniaka 3 research station on Oniaka in 3 and Descent Part 1.
Oh. This episode marks the first time that Miles O'Brien is referred to as Transporter Chief, and the first time he is referred to by his last name.
This is the first episode in which Dr. Pulaski's loathing of the transporter is mentioned, giving her a key commonality with previous Enterprise Doctor Leonard McCoy.
Which is another reason why the idea of the shuttle solution should have come a lot easier to her, because she hates the transporter. This is the first appearance, as Kelvin said, of the Miranda-class starship in TNG. For this episode, the ship's motto was slightly altered, losing the roll bar and torpedo pod that the class had in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, and would begin the use of many, 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 many uses throughout TNG and DS9.
Good old Miranda's the workhorse of the fleet. Okay, final thoughts. Who did it better? Now, we've got a lot of genetic engineering episodes to cover. So we have from the original series, Space Seed. We also have the Khan audio drama that we covered. We have Strange New Worlds, Ghosts of Illyria, Deep Space Nine, Dr. Bashir, I presume, and Statistical Probabilities, Voyagers, The Fight, and Prodigy's Masquerade. Amy, do you have a preference?
Yeah, that is a big list, and definitely need to discuss genetic engineering. So glad we have this series to do so. And just in this discussion, there's still so many episodes to cover. So who did it better? Man, I really do appreciate this episode. It's one that everyone knows. You say Unnatural Selection. Oh, that's the Pulaski where she gets old. And in listening to Dr. Muldar, she did not want to come back to TNG because one of the reasons being this makeup. And she hated this makeup in this episode. But it's with such a fun little concept. So I do like it, but I'm going to say I like Statistical Probabilities, but I'm going to give it to Prodigy's Masquerade. I just think the way that they cover it.
You're going to say
that. It's just so delicious. And so that's my vote for today.
You may have been absent a few weeks, Amy, but you're back, and me and Christos knew exactly where you were going with that. We've not forgotten you altogether.
Oh, great.
How about you, Christos? Who takes it for you?
The Khan audio drama caught my attention because it was so good, but I think I'm going to give it to Strange New Worlds, Ghosts of Illyria. Really, really enjoy that episode and how that starts that whole Una arc based in how they discuss genetic engineering and Strange New Worlds and kind of give it a whole another context. So yeah, I'm going to go with Strange New Worlds. How about you, Kelvin?
I'm going to go Deep Space Nine. I'm going to go Dr. Bashir, I presume. I think it is not also only a pivotal episode for Bashir himself as a character in terms of what he gets, but as we've said in this episode, it sets that standard of the ban on genetic engineering that has been obeyed moving forward. We've just got these few episodes. We've also got the Masterpiece Society in TNG, don't forget. That's a huge genetic engineering episode, maybe covered in the future by us. But yeah, I'm going that episode. And also there's another little special reason that episode is special for me, because it was the first All Good Things that I was on when we covered that episode.
Aww.
So that's me.
Near and dear.
What's happening on BQN, you ask? We're not just a network. We're a universe of exploration, entertainment, and deep dives into the topics you love. Here's your star map to the sonic adventures awaiting you. Let's chart the Star Trek cosmos with all good things. Embark on a comprehensive journey through the entire Star Trek universe with the insightful crew of Amy, Christos, Kelvin, and Kristin. From classic to current, they cover it all. Galaxy class, engage! Stephen and Stefan pilots this Alpha Quadrant mission, meticulously covering all aspects of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Infinite diversity. Stay current with the newest Star Trek Frontiers alongside Chrissy and Thad. Union Federation. Whether your allegiance lies with Starfleet or the Planetary Union, Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley offer a unified front, discussing both current Star Trek and the truly Trek at heart, the Orville. Crack open that book with Peter and the Trek Book Club podcast. Delve into a rich tapestry of Star Trek's beta canon. What's the tea, Bev? Christos spills the latest Trek news and fandom insights with an essential LGBTQIA+ perspective, complete with engaging guest interviews. Our visual voyages that you can find on YouTube as well as podcasts are Trek Masters. Think you're a Starfleet Academy graduate? Test your knowledge with Davey and MC's challenging Star Trek quiz show. And the View Screen. Tune in live on Sundays for your dose of a Trek-inspired talk show. Kelvin and Amy host new 8-week seasons each spring and fall. But beyond the final frontier, we have Bargain Bin Gamer. Davey and Mitch, your self-proclaimed gamer guides, lead you to digital treasures, unearthing and reviewing the most affordable video game gems. Cinema Z. Grab your metaphorical popcorn for Mark and Matt's cinematic deep dives, unearthing overlooked films that demand your attention. History with the Zalogis. In order to never repeat it, tune in as Chrissy and Jason deliver bite-sized snippets of historical events from around the globe and transformational journeys. Host Lex Rosa explores what it means to embrace authenticity in the face of societal expectations. You can unlock deeper levels of engagement with our exclusive patron perks. The Hive Mind is where you can join our random script readings, live reaction shows, and roundtable discussions. You can also now watch All Good Things as an extended video edit and get a background look into the creation of a podcast. Also, check out our back catalog of It's Green and Amy's Math Moments. Stay connected to our ever-expanding galaxy of content by following BQN Podcasts on Instagram, Bluesky, YouTube, and Discord. We appreciate you choosing BQN to fill your auditory needs. Thank you for listening. Assimilate the audio.
Right, okay, so Christos, I think we've discussed Dr. Pulaski quite enough. I think next week we should reset the balance. Can you tell the listeners what we're going to be doing in the next episode, please?
Well, after all that grumpy, we need a little bit of a palate cleanser. And so we're going to introduce a new series that I almost was jokingly picking our first episode of it. But I was like, well, hey, why not? Let's go with it. It's a new series called Personnel File, and part 1, and it'll be a complete review of Dr. Beverly Crusher. And I guess it'll be Dr. Beverly Crusher as she appears in TNG, a little bit in Prodigy, and in Star Trek Picard. So I don't know, Amy, I don't know if you remember, but my very first little guest podcasting was on Galaxy Class before it was Galaxy Class. And it was the Beverly Crusher character profile episode, but that was like 2018, maybe.
So that would have been Earl Grey.
Earl Grey, and it was long before Picard or any of this other stuff happened. So it'll be my first time discussing Beverly in depth on a podcast that would include New Trek and that more complete version of the character that we've gotten, and even some more beta canon that references to that as well.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, before that, we would love to hear what you thought of today's show. And there are many ways you can do this. You can join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, or you can join our Discord server. You can follow the network on Bluesky and Instagram at BQN Podcast to continue the discussion over there. You can find all the links and the invite code in the show notes. So, Amy, where can people find you when you are not throwing yourself through the transporter to make yourself look young and beautiful?
Well, when I am not doing that, which I should do that daily. You can find me where? You can find me here, podcasting on All Good Things. Discord server, I'm there. We have our own little BQN. And on Instagram. Christos, where can people find you when you are not comparing Pulaski with Crusher?
I'm nowhere when I'm not doing that. You can find me on Facebook in the BQN Collective. You can find me on our Discord server, and you can find me on Instagram at What's the TBev. Kelvin, where can people find you when you're not hiding your hairbrush at the very back of a drawer that's full of scars?
I tell you, no one wants to go rummaging through the top drawer next to my bed. You'll find a lot more scary things than hairbrushes. But when I am not doing that, you can find me in the BQN Collective Facebook group, or you can come and chat with me directly on most of the socials at Kelvin's Timeline.
I'm sure they'll be able to find lots of DNA in your bedside table.
All over
sometimes
Manchester.
You will never hear a commercial here on BQN, and if you'd like to help us keep all our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. For just $1 a month, you can watch the video version of this very podcast, or you can join our reaction shows, script readings, and enjoy our special patron-only back catalog shows of It's Green and Amy's Math Moments. Visit patreon.com/BQN to sign up and get all the details.
If becoming a patron isn't your thing, don't worry, you can still support the show by sharing our posts on social media, talking about it with your friends, or hitting the like and subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and leaving us a 5-star rating and written review. That'll help others find the show and build our little community of awesome listeners.
I think this episode, Unnatural Selection, would be great for a script reading. I don't know why. Maybe fun to do that and just little recording. At this time, we'd like to thank all of our patrons, but give a special shout out to our very own associate producer, JJ Seastrom. A special thanks to Graham Kelly and for our opening and closing music, and to our very own Kelvin for our artwork each and every week.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you'll join us as we search out
All good things.